Hey everybody, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbusters show, and today we're going to be looking at a real masterclass of so bad it's good cinema. Today we're going to be looking at a little movie called Love on a Leash, a movie about a girl who falls in love with a dog.
Please help me find a real man.
Oh, she's the one.
There are no real men.
I'm right here.
It's not easy to be a homeless dog, is it?
How about being my roommate?
Why don't we call you Prince? That's what I'll do.
You saved my life. I'm gonna stay with you forever. I love you.
It's Prince. Prince, your dog. I love you. I love you so much.
Love on a Leash.
After I first heard that, I was thinking this is either some weird European art house film or it's going to be some kind of weird German porno, and even though it does feel like it in both categories, it actually isn't. So instead, this movie falls into the category of Birdemic-1 level incompetence that is just so staggeringly shocking that it has to be seen to be believed. Even more than the last episode where we looked at Tammy and the T-Rex, this movie is a marvel in so bad it's good movies. Love takes a furry twist in this slice of romantic comedy. A young woman falls for a stray dog with a secret. By night, he becomes a man. Follow the journey of a golden retriever and the friend who gives him a home. I guarantee you this IMDb description was probably written by the same people that made the movie. The movie starts in a park and we see a dog walking around and we get the opening credits and it's all good at first, but then you notice there's no music. On top of that, when the dog starts talking, which they obviously just ADR'd someone's voiceover footage of a dog they filmed in the park, it's the same thing in the opening of Birdemic where audio's there, and then once the audio stops, it's just dead silence, and then the audio starts up again, and then dead silence once it stops again.
Where is everybody? Where are the ladies at?
This is what I'm talking about when I say Birdemic level of incompetence, because it seriously does feel like you're watching Birdemic again. As they establish later on in the movie, the dog is actually a man who has been turned into a dog by some spirit near a pond.
Find a girl.
Girl?
If she only loves you, you may have a chance.
Find a girl? That's my specialty.
Apparently, the only way the dog can break the spell is if he finds a woman to fall in love with him. And so we then just jump over to the main woman who has a weird fascination with green. Every scene of the movie she's in, she's always wearing green, her car is green, everything in her house is green, and her best friend is always wearing magenta or purple or pink or whatever. What it's like when in kid shows, they always had like the characters dress a certain way, and they always had them wear certain colors, and then you see like the houses they live in are the exact same singular color. It's like that. Except this is different because this isn't an animated cartoon for kids. This is a full-length motion picture where for some reason the main character has to dress in green and live in a house where everything is green. And it's never brought up, except for like once the dog points it out, but they never go into depth with it.
Why is everything in here green?
So the dog runs to somewhere else in the park. It's like a grass area in the park, and one of the girls is sunbathing. I feel like they probably wanted to record this on a beach somewhere, but they couldn't get a beach. And the girl wearing green, the main female lead, she prays that she finds the right man, and I'm just going to show you this scene. I did not touch a single frame of this footage. This is actually how the movie is edited.
What? Are you dogging me too? What do you know about this, dog?
I will not let a chick get away. I know how to get a chick.
I ask you, could you comprehend anything that just happened in that? And apparently it's another day because she's wearing different clothes. So in the span of those couple shots and those few seconds, it's a totally different day. So the lady takes the dog home and the dog just kind of comes and goes. Like sometimes it's just walking on the streets and other times it's staying in her house. Apparently her condo or her townhouse or wherever she's living doesn't have a door because she always has like a cloth in front of every door in the house. I don't know what that's about. Also gotta point this piece of brilliance out. Every time the dog is walking by himself or is traveling somewhere, they have the dog singing to himself as if this is supposed to be a musical number.
I'm a dog driving in a car. I'm going to her house. We're gonna go far. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I just gotta bring this up since we're talking about the dog's voice actor. Every time the dog is on screen, I seriously think that the person doing the voice acting for the dog was just messing with the director, because it seems like they were just ad-libbing a bunch of stupid shit and they were just like, hey, I want to see how much of this the director actually uses. And it seems like the director used a lot of it. Because there are times where it seems like he is not taking anything even remotely seriously, and I can't even blame him for that. Anyway, enough of that. We then jump into the movie's many different subplots, because unlike a rom-com where there's like a main story and then maybe there's like a side story going on in the background that's supposed to coincide with the main story at some point, here there's like a bunch of different subplots that begin and end after like 2 scenes. And they are all terrible. Established that she works at like some clothing place and there's this boss character who's incredibly creepy, and at one point he breaks into her house and tries to have sex with her against her will, but then the dog steps in and bites him, and then he says you're fired, and then that's it. We never ever see that again. He doesn't come back. The whole thing about her job doesn't come back. There's no thing of her looking for a new job. That just comes and goes.
You're fired!
I quit!
She was working there. There's this Asian guy that likes her and asks her out on a date. They go on a date that consists of only like 3 shots. Later in the movie, he asks her to marry him, and then it's revealed that he's actually gay, and he's only doing this because he wants to be socially accepted.
I mean is, I'm not attracted to any woman. All my relationships are with men.
It was weird because that felt like it was going to be important and it felt like it was going to go somewhere. And if it was in an actual movie as like the main plot, it would be kind of interesting. But no, it's just, again, dropped. I don't think we ever see that guy ever again after that point. Like I said, she has this best friend who's always talking about how she has sex with tons of different guys.
If I want some good lovin', I call Zach. Come on, you gotta have a man for every mood or activity.
But that part was weird because later on in the movie, she lambasts her for having a relationship with the dog once he's turned back into a human.
You know, I don't even want to know. Come on, here I thought you were this true virgin with all these high principles, but clearly you're not.
Earlier on in the movie, she was talking about how she needs to get out there and find a man, but now all of a sudden she's like freaking out at her. Going back to the clothing store, there's a part where the dog is sifting through clothes, and then there's this talent agent scout who sees the dog and is like, hey, we could use that dog for commercials. And the lady is like, oh, no, you know, he doesn't do commercials. And then later, while the lady is out, the dog then goes to the talent agency and does a commercial, and the talent agency gives the dog money, just dollar bills in an envelope. And that's one of the things that makes this movie just so insane that it's amazing, because you're just like, why is everybody acting like this dog is a person? Nobody can understand the dog. It's just like Marmaduke, where everything you hear coming from the dog is coming from the dog's thoughts. So it's not like the dog is a talking dog. How is it that they're able to understand this dog and it's like, oh yeah, we'll do lunch? The talent scout guy understand the dog? Because if so, they don't like establish that at all. There's also a scene where the lady pops a bunch of pills after having a bad day. She passes out on the floor. The dog then runs out and plays dead in the street. A car stops to see if he's okay, and then the dog runs back with the guy following suit, and the guy sees her passed out on the floor. Again, scenes like that where it feels like if this was in a real movie, this actually could mean something. But the fact that it's in Love on a Leash, where everything feels super disjointed and not connected to anything, just makes it feel weird. The main storyline about the girl and the dog getting together and the dog turning back into a human finally comes into play when the dog then runs out into the rain at night, and she runs out. She says that she doesn't want any more men in her life and that she just wants to live with the dog, and then the dog miraculously turns into a human.
My past life, I was punished for being a cheating playboy. I was cursed to live as a dog. Be a man. I could be your husband.
One thing I find interesting is that the dog's voice and the dog when he's a person are 2 totally different people in both voice and character. Not only is the voice actor not the same actor as the dog when he's a person, but whenever he's a dog, he's always cracking off a bunch of smart-ass comments, and when he's a human, he seems like a genuinely nice, sweet guy. It's like two different people wrote that character. And there's a stipulation because he turns back into a dog because according to the magical spirit pond or whatever, he can only turn into a human at night. And this leads into some wacky shenanigans where he goes to a family gathering of her family and uh-oh, it's daytime, so he's about to turn into a dog. That scene is weird because he turns into a dog right in front of her family and only one person seems to be freaked out by it. Nobody else seems to care.
Dad, Prince just became a dog. Big deal. I'm Alvin Schwang.
Just like with the talent agency commercial thing from earlier. Why is it nobody seems to be fazed by the fact that there's a man turning into a dog? And then there's another subplot established near the end of the movie. All throughout, they kind of hint that there's this nosy neighbor character that's always suspecting them of something. And at one point, the sun's about to come up, and so he has to get away because the neighbor is trying to find out what's going on. So there's a chase scene that's in fast motion. There's a lot of fast motion montages all throughout this movie. And again, no music whatsoever. But oh, he gave the neighbor the slip, and then he runs into a bathroom, and he turns into a dog, so haha. But anyway, the movie ends with, just like in the grand scheme of all these talking animal movies we've done for the Blockbuster show, just like My Magic Dog and A Talking Cat and all those kind of movies, the dog gets hit by a car, and you think that he's dead.
I'm back! I'm back, Lisa! I'm back! I really love you, honey.
And then you jump forward in time, and we see that the lady is now an old lady. Her friend now has a bunch of kids to a bunch of different fathers who aren't there. And she's trying to sell the house, and the person she's selling the house to, it's the guy who was once the dog. And he's old now too. Where he came from, how he's back to life, who knows and who gives a shit. And then they get married. Even her wedding dress is green. And once they kiss, they become young again. So yeah, a tale as old as time, am I right? Like I've said all throughout, this movie is terrible, and yet just like the first Birdemic and Amazing Bulk and Flying Ryan and Cool Cat and all those kinds of movies, this movie is just so bad, it's fascinating. Like, if you're into filmmaking, if you're into so bad it's good movies and like to make fun of super inept shit, this is the perfect movie for you. I mean, this movie is just so baffling that it has to be seen to be believed. It really is. It is like the first Birdemic. I just hope to God that years later we don't get a Love on a Leash 2 that's trying to be self-aware and make fun of the first movie like Birdemic 2, because that was just the worst. Like, Birdemic 1 is already a bad movie, but Birdemic 2 was trying to be self-aware and tongue-in-cheek, and it was just obnoxious. I hope to God there is no Love on a Leash 2, because if they try to do that kind of shit with this, it just takes the badness that was funny in this and just kind of ruins it. This is playing in the same league of the Tommy Wiseau's and the James Nguyen's of so bad they're good films. But yeah, that concludes all the videos we're doing for the Blockbuster show this February. We've got a couple more movie reviews coming up next month. I don't know if I'm going to be doing 2 or 3. I'll have to see what's on the schedule and what movies we're going to be doing. But yeah, we got more stuff for the Blockbuster show coming up. Until next time, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video. And please, it's on YouTube. If you're curious, go watch Love on a Leash. It's amazing.
I already have a name. My name is Alvin Fwang.